6:15 on the morning show with Jeff and Will. We are back on this fine Monday morning, and joining us as she does every Monday at this time, it is the editor-in-chief of the Rockland County Business Journal, Tina Traster. Good morning, Tina. How are you this morning?
Good morning. A little chilly. Happy MLK Day, everybody out there.
Indeed. Happy MLK Day. And it is quite a chilly one this morning. It's like 21, I think, right now. Something like that.
Yes, something like that. Just hoping we do not get another wall of snow tomorrow. We need collective wishes for no snow tomorrow.
Fingers crossed.
All right. So let's talk about the favorite subject of the presumed new shelter. Late in December, Rockland Green unanimously voted to issue a 10 million bond anticipation notes. And this is just the beginning of the process, because this project is likely to be at least up in the 20 million range by the time all is said and done. Let's take apart what's happening right now. The bond anticipation notes have been were voted on in order for them to reimburse themselves, because they're in the process of buying a building for more than $4 million. Plus, they've got architectural and engineering costs, and they will, in fact, receive even less than $10 million, because the bond anticipation notes come with the cost of bond counsel and underwriting and sales commissions. So what we're saying here is that they will be left with less than $5 million to build this shelter, and that will obviously not be even close to what it is going to cost in order to do so. Now, the other thing that we noted in this story that we published probably about a week ago is that taxpayers will note that Rockland Green has increased the annual amount that it's collecting from residents by 18% to run the shelter. That's quite a jump, considering what we hear from sources is that the staff size has not changed, that staff members, our sources tell us, are being, actually some have left because they stopped paying them overtime, that the foods that they're buying for the animals are of lesser quality. So it's a little disturbing that year over year the costs have risen from the allocation of the tax levy has risen from $1.4 million in 2023 to nearly $1.7 million in 2024. And just the third item that I wanted to mention from this story that we published is that one of the things that's been said that Chairman Howard Phillips has said is that the one thing that they plan to save on is the noise proofing, and there's something just really ironic about that, because there are three issues around the noise. One is the presumed construction of a 24/7 truck depot that's going to be right across the street with trucks going in and out all day long, which is likely to drive animals crazy because they have their ears are tuned for very high pitched noises. Two, you've got the sound of the radio controlled from the aerodrome, the motors from those airplanes. Also, again, in a sort of an ironic way, is you've got the fireworks at Pex Park. Presumably, it had been said that they wanted to move the shelter because it would be because of the Boulder Stadium. So fireworks, once again, are still an issue for the animals. And finally, on the reverse side of things, there is an entire residential neighborhood right around Pex Park that is going to be impacted probably by the sounds of the shelter, I would say, unless noise control is dealt with. So it just seems that everything about the planning of the shelter is just kind of willing. It just seems like there's a constant lack of reasonable planning as it moves forward. As it's never seemed to have a solid plan that's been thought through. So that's the shelter story, and people can find that story, of course, online at Rockland County Business Journal. On a potentially more cheerful note, let's talk about open space acquisition program. The county last year bought up two large tracts of land and preserved a good amount of acreage. And now they, in November, the deadline closed for the current round of acquisition. We understand, we've been told from the county that there are 12 applicants. But in a story that we just put up yesterday, we highlight one that has a lot of support and advocacy. And this is, I will tell you what it is, and you'll certainly understand why. So in New City, there's a plot of land that's 32 acres with a pre-Revolutionary War era house. It's known as the Depew House. And it really is beautiful. It's beautifully preserved. It's an old sandstone house. Rockland County has few of the sandstone houses left, and it has few farms left. And so the combination of this piece of land and this homestead that's on it makes this a very, very interesting target for open space. Now, the backstory here is that this house was recently, a few months ago, put up on the market for sale for $3 million. The county still has, I think it's $9 million left in their coffers for the acquisition of open space, a program, by the way, that started many, many years ago in Scott Vanderhoff's administration with a $30 million bucket of money. But now there's about $9 million left, and this house it was put up on the market recently for sale, and the folks from the Rockland Farm Alliance put it forward as a nominee for open space because Rockland has essentially lost most of its farmland. There's still some left. Probably the best example of the reclamation of farmland has been the Cropsey Farm in New City, which is half owned. Well, no, not half. It's 39% owned by the town of Clarkstown and 61% owned by the county. And the county purchased that land through its open space program. So this is 32 acres that, in fact, has been farmed going back to the mid-1700s. Certainly, we found some data with the help of shout out to Joe Barbieri and the history in the reference department at the New City Library. He helped us find some historic documents, so we know some of the crops and things that were raised on the farm 200 years ago. And the farm is intact. I mean, it's 32 acres. It's not far from the Historical Society and the Jacob Blauvelt House that's on the Historical Society's land. It's a good piece of property. I would say it's a good target for conservation. Now, I don't know every other piece of property that it's competing with. As I said, there are 12 applicants. We do know also that, and we've written about the poorhouse, what's known as the Henry Barnum Poorhouse, which is also known as the Crow House on South Mountain Road in New City. They too have filed an application. In both of these cases, I think some of the challenge is that the county is not only acquiring open space, but in both of these cases, in both of these spaces, it involves taking on a historic house, and there is a lot. I live in an old house. There's a lot of responsibility that comes along with the acquisition for an old house. The Depew House on this piece of land that we're talking about happens to be in really good condition because the owner had just done a renovation, and then for reasons that are too long to go into, needed to sell the house. Was sort of forced to sell the house. So the house is in really good condition, but that is not the case with the poorhouse. That is in poor condition, no pun intended. Anyway, it's an opportunity. It's very interesting. It's the sort of thing that most people just don't know that there's an old sandstone house back there with large acreage, and also the folks from the Rockland Farm Alliance have told me that if this is preserved, they would certainly work in concert with the county to find farmers to work the land, to lease the land, maybe potentially to live in the house, so that all of this could come together, kind of in the same way that the Cropsey Farm did. People know that when the town and the county took over the Cropsey Farm, they did a carve out, and there's another pre-revolutionary sandstone building that the Cropseys and Pat Cropsey still lives in. So there are precious assets in this county, and it's exciting that there is money in this open space acquisition program, and we've highlighted this one particular property. So people should take a look at this story. It's filled with lots of interesting information. So, any questions so far?
At the moment, no, but I am glad to see that there are some precious Rockland sites that are getting some coverage as courtesy of the Rockland County Business Journal. That's exciting.
Yes, we think so too. I have to say that really was a fun story to pull together. I did not know about this house, and I am kind of plugged into historic preservation and whatnot, but this was, I guess, in private hands for for its entire life, and it just came to my attention, it came to light, and we'll see if the county, seizes on this. I mean, when the county, in order to acquire open space, there has to be a mutual, agreement. The seller does. We interview the seller, and the seller does. In fact, this is exactly what she does want. She wants the preservation of this land. But it still involves appraisal and negotiation. They have to, there has to be a meeting of the minds on what the price should be. So there's a process, and we will keep an eye on that. And then finally, we attended and published the list of those who have received tourism awards from Rockland County. This year, 31 organizations with $298,000 in total in grants. Once again, Visit Nyack, the big winner, with $25,000. A bunch of others, a handful of others with $15,000. And it's the idea there is to keep stimulating tourism in order to make Rockland County viable, and it's an economic driver. So that's
Well, it is. I'm glad we're closing it on a positive note, and congratulations to the winners. That's pretty exciting stuff for Rockland. We were just talking about sites here in Rockland that were being highlighted, so I'm glad some fun tourism can be added to the list of some fun stuff to do here in Rockland. It's a great thing to do. We've got a lovely county here, and people should continue exploring. And the best possible way to know about what's going on in the business world of Rockland is, of course, as always, the Rockland County Business Journal, headed up by Miss Tina Traster. Thank you for joining us as you do each and every week here on WRCR. Tina, everybody else out there wants more of that information, go to rcbizjournal.com. That's B-I-Z, rcbizjournal.com. Check out their Facebook, their Twitter, all that fun stuff. Tina, have a great week. We will speak to you next Monday.
All right. Have a lovely week, everybody, and stay warm.
Indeed.